brain is not a fixed machine. It changes based on how you use it. That idea changes everything.
That's a big statement to start with. But honestly, for years I've looked at people who are disciplined and successful and thought, they're just built differently. They have something I don't.
And that thought right there, that belief, it's one of the biggest things holding you back. Welcome to the show. I'm George.
And I'm Emma. Today, we're talking about how to actually train your brain to win, not with positive thinking or cheesy motivation, but with real neuroscience and psychology.
We're going to look at why you procrastinate, why your phone is winning the war for your attention, and how small daily actions can literally rewire your brain over time.
Let's start at the very beginning. How does the brain actually change?
So the key concept here is called neuroplasticity. For a long time, scientists thought your brain was like a computer. You got the hardware you were born with, and that was it.
So, if you were undisciplined at Swansig, you were stuck that way forever?
Exactly. But we now know that's false. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on what you do. Think of it less like a computer and more like a river.
A river? How so?
Imagine water flowing down a hill. At first, it just trickles randomly. But as it flows, it carves a small path. The next time it rains, the water follows that same path, carving it deeper. Eventually, you have a canyon.
Okay, I'm following. The water is my thoughts and actions?
Exactly. And the canyon is the neural pathway in your brain. The more you think a certain thought or do a certain action, the deeper that pathway gets. This is why habits are so hard to break. You're trying to stop water from flowing down a deep canyon and make it start a new path somewhere else.
That makes so much sense. So when I tell myself, I'm just not a morning person or I'm lazy, I'm actually digging that canyon deeper?
You are. You're reinforcing the identity. The good news is, you can dig new canyons. It just takes consistent effort to redirect the water.
Okay, so if the brain can change, why does it feel impossible to start things? Why do I spend 3 days thinking about cleaning my office and then just not do it?
Because your brain's main job isn't to make you successful. Its main job is to keep you safe. And to your ancient brain, uncertainty feels like danger.
A messy office feels like danger?
Metaphorically, yes. When you think about starting a big project, your brain doesn't see opportunity. It sees a potential for failure, judgment, or stress. It triggers a threat response. You feel discomfort.
So I avoid the discomfort by scrolling on my phone or watching TV.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Avoiding it gives you immediate relief. Your brain loves that relief. It learns. Big project equals anxiety. Phone equals relief. So next time, you reach for the phone faster. That's the cycle of procrastination.
It's not laziness. It's my brain trying to protect me from a feeling.
Exactly. It's an emotional regulation problem, not a time management problem. The fix isn't a better to-do list. The fix is recognizing the feeling of fear and choosing to act anyway. Just for 5 minutes. You have to prove to your brain that the task isn't a tiger.
Let's talk about focus. Even when I sit down to work, I can't concentrate for more than 10 minutes without my phone buzzing. Why is it so hard to just stay focused?
Because we are living in an attention economy. Your attention is the most valuable thing you own, and there are trillion-dollar companies engineering ways to steal it.
That sounds dramatic, but I believe it. I feel like my brain is addicted to my phone.
That's because it is. It comes down to a chemical called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is about pleasure, but it's actually about anticipation and wanting.
So it's the wanting chemical?
Yes. Every time you get a notification, you don't know what it is. A text, a like, an email. That uncertainty triggers a little spike of dopamine. It's exactly the same mechanism as a slot machine. Pull the lever, maybe you win, maybe you don't.
So my phone is a slot machine in my pocket.
Exactly. And the result is attention fragmentation. Your brain is being trained to crave distraction. The good news is, attention is like a muscle. You can strengthen it
How?
by doing deep work. You schedule a block of time, start with just 20 minutes, and you remove all distractions. Phone in another room, laptop offline, and you focus on one thing. It will feel uncomfortable at first, like lifting a heavy weight. But every time you resist the urge to check your phone and bring your attention back, you're doing a rep for your focus muscle.
So we train focus like a muscle. What about habits? I want to be someone who writes every day or exercises in the morning. How do I make that automatic?
You need to understand the habit loop. It's simple. Cue, routine, reward.
Break that down for me.
The cue is the trigger. It could be a time of day, a place, or a feeling. For you, the cue to procrastinate might be sitting at your desk feeling anxious. The routine is the behavior. You check Instagram. The reward is the relief from the anxiety.
So how do I build a good habit using the same loop?
You have to design it. First, make the cue obvious. If you want to floss, put the floss next to your toothbrush. If you want to write, put your notebook on your pillow so you see it before bed.
Okay, obvious cue. Then what?
Then you make the routine easy. Really easy. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, has a great rule, the 2-minute rule. Want to read more? Read one page? Want to exercise? Put on your workout shoes. The goal is to lower the barrier so much that your brain doesn't resist.
So I'm tricking my brain into starting.
Exactly. Because once you start, momentum usually takes over. You read one page, you end up reading for 20 minutes. You put your shoes on, you go for a walk. The hardest part is always the beginning. Make the beginning so easy you can't say no.
Okay, this all sounds good in theory, but what happens when you try and you fail? You write that page and it's terrible. You go for that walk and it rains. How do you handle that without quitting?
This is where most people get stuck. They experience failure and they internalize it. They go from I failed to I am a failure.
I've done that a million times. One bad experience and I'm done.
That's because your ego feels threatened. Failure feels like an attack on your identity. But you have to separate the event from the person. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
That's easy to say when you're a genius.
Maybe, but the principle is sound. He saw failure as data. It was information about what didn't work, not a judgment on who he was. You need to build what I call a learning loop.
A learning loop instead of a shame loop.
Exactly. When you fail, pause. Ask yourself, what can I learn here? What is one thing I can adjust? This engages the thinking part of your brain and calms down the emotional, scared part. You turn failure into feedback.
We touched on dopamine earlier with phones, but it feels like this is a bigger issue in modern life. I feel like my brain is always looking for the next little hit of stimulation. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting, and it's a trap. We live in a world of hypernormal stimulation. Junk food, social media, video games, they all provide these massive dopamine spikes that our brains never evolved to handle.
So what happens to the brain when it gets too much?
The brain adapts. To maintain balance, it reduces the number of dopamine receptors. It becomes less sensitive. So now, you need more stimulation just to feel normal.
That explains why reading a book feels boring and scrolling TikTok feels necessary.
Exactly. Your baseline has shifted. The good news is you can reset it. It's called a dopamine fast, or more accurately, dopamine reset.
How does that work? Do I just throw my phone away?
Not forever. But you need periods of low stimulation. Go for a walk without music. Sit in a room and do nothing. Let yourself be bored. At first, it will feel painful. But after a few days, your receptors start to recover. Suddenly, reading that book or focusing on work becomes pleasurable again because your baseline is lower. You rebuild your capacity for deep satisfaction.
We've talked about habits and focus, but there's this deeper voice in my head that says, "This won't work. You're not that person." How do you deal with that?
That voice is your identity talking. And identity is the deepest layer of behavior change. You cannot consistently act in a way that contradicts your self-image.
So, if I believe I'm a procrastinator, I will always find a way to procrastinate.
Yes. Goals are about what you want to achieve. Identity is about who you believe you are. And here's the key insight. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become.
A vote? Not a final decision?
No. Think of it like an election. If you miss a workout, that's one vote for unfit person. It doesn't mean you lose the election. You just need to cast more votes the next day for fit person. This takes the pressure off. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to win the majority of the votes over time.
That's freeing. So if I write for 10 minutes today, I'm casting a vote for writer. If I do it again tomorrow, that's another vote.
Exactly. And eventually, the evidence becomes overwhelming. Your brain updates its model. You stop trying to be a writer. You are a writer. The behavior flows naturally from the identity.
This all sounds like a slow process. In a world that wants results now, how do you stay patient?
Because you have to understand that real growth is never linear. It compounds. It's like compound interest. In the beginning, you work and nothing seems to happen. That's the valley of disappointment.
The valley of disappointment. I've lived there.
We all have. You're putting in the work, but the results aren't visible. This is when most people quit. But the progress is happening underground, in the roots. The neural pathways are strengthening. The habits are becoming automatic.
So you have to trust the process even when you can't see it.
Yes. Imagine heating a block of ice from -10 degrees to -1 degree. Nothing happens. It's still ice. But then, at 32 degrees, it starts to melt. It looked like nothing was happening, but you were changing the temperature the whole time.
The melt happens because of all the invisible work before it.
Exactly. Consistency beats intensity. The person who shows up every day and does a little bit will always outperform the person who goes all out once and then burns out. Play the long game. Trust the compound effect.
George, this has been incredibly helpful. We've covered so much. If listeners take one thing away from this conversation, what should it be?
That your brain is not fixed. It is constantly changing based on what you do. Every thought you think, every action you take, is either digging a canyon for failure or for success. The power is in your hands, but it's not about massive, heroic efforts. It's about the small, daily votes.
The small votes for the person you want to become.
Exactly. You don't win because you're lucky. You don't win because you're talented. You win because you train your brain, day after day, to think, focus, and persist differently. And that's everything for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something new, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.
Because your support helps us create more helpful lessons for you.
Stay motivated, keep practicing, and we will see you in the next episode.